All right, welcome back. You're watching a Stop the Steal edition of Liquid Lunch right here on Biz TV. People are watching the show literally from Australia, from Russia. I just got someone. We got people in Florida. We got people all around the country and all around the world who care about what the heck is going on here. Like, how are our elections not free and fair? How could our elections not even be settled now almost 2 weeks after? What the heck is going on? To break it down for us, Conrad Black joins us right now. Conrad is the author of A President Like No Other, Donald J. Trump and the Restoring of America. Conrad, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with us today. I would encourage my audience to go out and check out A President Like No Other because it's really true. Never has a title been more true than this guy is a president like no other. Many people forget he beat 18 Republicans, and then he beat the whole establishment with Hillary, and he's really reshaped the Republican Party. What made a guy like you take the time out to write a book about Donald Trump?
Well, I'd written about Franklin D. Roosevelt and Richard Nixon, much larger books, but that was after they were both dead, obviously. And I knew Mr. Nixon in those last 5 years, and I've known Donald Trump for over 20 years. And in each case, I only wrote the book because I thought there was a story to be told. Roosevelt was divided between worshipers and haters, and there's a middle ground that should recognize his greatness as president. Mr. Nixon, as you know, had been demonized, and he was actually an extremely capable president. And pardon me, Donald Trump, as I need hardly say to you or any of your viewers, whether they're in Australia or Ukraine or anywhere else, has been smeared in a way that has never occurred in American history by the press. It has been a nonstop, wall-to-wall smear job from the day he and Melania came down the escalator 5 years ago. And the fact is, he has had the most successful first term of any president in the history of the country, except Lincoln, FDR, and Nixon. And it's astounding what he's achieved and done it under circumstances unlike any that afflicted any of his predecessors. This nonsensical Russian collusion smear job, the spurious attempt at impeachment, and now, after 3 years of preparation, a blizzard of lawsuits in every state of the country, a tremendous pressure wherever the Democrats control the legislatures, and seizing upon the hysteria that the Democrats, allies in the media, generated over the COVID crisis, which is a serious problem, but is only potentially lethal to 1% of people. They have put through this preposterous method of voting where millions, tens of millions of unsolicited ballots are sent out, a great many of them to obsolete addresses or dead people or people have moved and so forth. And as we can see, they're rounded up, filled out for Biden. And in only 4 or 5 states in the whole country, states governed by Democrats that are known in advance to be close states, in only those states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, a couple of others, do they stop counting, and then miraculously in the dead of night, there's these drops of huge numbers of votes in favor of Joe Biden. And they flip the states. And then this obstruction campaign begins immediately that the Republicans have no evidence because all the evidence is with the electoral officers, obviously. The Republican Party doesn't have it. So you have to get it out of there. And you have this campaign joined even by many of the president's ostensible supporters saying he's got to be a good sport and concede, like Mr. Nixon did in 1960.
No, and one of the things, you know, my show here on Biz TV, we go to 40 million homes in America, a lot of red states, okay? And many people in the last 2 weeks are saying, JT, we got to keep the faith. We got to believe it's God's plan. We got to keep spreading the word and not let people get fatigued and start believing these psychological operations they're running on us. They're trying to get deterioration around the edges of Trump support for people to just throw in the towel. And
exactly. I mean, look, you have 89% of the people voting in Milwaukee. This is nonsense. It's never happened before.
Right.
So obviously, there are at least 100,000 fake votes there.
Yeah. Over a 6 presidential elections, the mean turnout was 67%. To have a, underwhelming candidate like Joe Biden actually move the turnout by 33%, it's unheard of. Mathematicians, I had a statistician on from Princeton the other day. He says, just these are anomalies that are inexplicable. They're not even mathematically, they're not correlated to mathematical formulas. But let me ask you this. At one point, you controlled some of the largest media properties in the world, right? When you were at Hollinger International, Daily Telegraph in the UK, the Sun-Times here in the US, the Jerusalem Post in Israel. Have you ever seen the media completely overtaken like we're seeing right here in America?
You mean absolutely monochromatic in their partisanship and full of lies and malice? No, never. I mean, not in an advanced country. You see it occasionally in underdeveloped countries that are essentially dictatorships. You see it in Zimbabwe or something like that. But no, in a serious, mature democracy, nothing like it. And as a student of American history, and I've written a history of the United States, it's never occurred in the history of your country either.
Yeah, and when I look at it, I come from Wall Street, right? And when Barack Obama was in office, I felt like the regulatory climate was so tough on capitalists that they were trying to squelch us out of business. And I always used to say, I love the way the Brits do it, because they lay out they lay out some wide, bright lines, and then they don't enforce. They wait for people to complain about you, and then you don't get a second chance. They kind of say
it's self-regulated.
Yeah, they say, here's what you can't do. And if you do anything inside of this, if no one tells us or complains about it, then we assume you're doing it right.
The governors of the stock exchange report to the governor of the Bank of England, and if there are complaints, they are investigated. It's a clean, fair exchange. London Stock Exchange, the best in the world. They're one of them. There's no problem with it. No, but there's no Securities and Exchange Commission.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And you would think. There was a time when there was no traffic lights. 4 people come up to a stop sign and they figured out how to everybody get through the intersection. Sometimes this overregulation can kill you. Donald Trump did as much for lowering taxes. He probably did more by eliminating unfair regulation and opening up our economy. Can you give us any sense of, you have been at the highest heights of society. Give us any sense of where you see this economy going if Donald Trump is not the victor here?
Look, I have been shocked, and I imagine you and most of your viewers have too, at how many people who should know better, who are authentic capitalists and are wealthy people, have supported Biden. And we have this phenomenon of the woke rich, who think that they've made money so quickly and in such novel areas that they don't have to pay any attention to the normal canons of capitalism. So that muddies the waters in a way we haven't seen in previous years. But look, I don't think Biden will. First of all, he's not an extremist himself. I mean, he's an unimpressive man to be running for that job, but he was never an extremist. He's well to the right of Bernie Sanders and the rest of them. He believes in the system, and he likes to get along with the principal elements in the system. Secondly, he is not going to control the Senate. And insofar as they control the House, it's very fragile. So they're not going to get any of that through. I think what you will get, as you've implied, is a reimposition of the ridiculous regulations that Trump removed. I think you'll get a fair bit of that. So there'll be some retarding effect. But we're about to have a vaccine, so the gloom of the COVID thing, which was wildly exaggerated anyway, but people are afraid of the unknown. We understand that. That will be lifted. So I don't think it will be as anti-capitalist regime as Obama's was. Biden is to the right of Obama, and he doesn't have this. I want to be very careful how I say this here, but he doesn't have that struggle in his own mind that many African Americans, even very distinguished ones, have about their fear that if they aren't somewhat radical in some ways, they are inauthentic blacks. Now, it's not for me to mind read the former president, but there was something complicated about his view of the U.S. Joe Biden is unambiguously a patriotic American, and he's not a socialist.
Well, let's hope that we don't have to worry about Joe Biden. We're never worried about it when you're here. I really appreciate, Mr. Black, you taking a few minutes and talking to us. I would encourage my audience to go out and check out A President Like No Other, Donald J. Trump and the Restoring of America. That's Conrad Black's book. It's a biography of Donald Trump, who he's known for quite some time. Sir, thank you very much.
I've known him for 20 years. He's a great man and a good friend.
Sir, thank you very much. We really appreciate you taking a little time out for us and helping us stop the steal. Conrad Black, thank you.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. All right, we take a quick break. We come back and do some more Stop the Steal right after this.